English is not my first language, so please ignore the spelling and grammar mistakes. This story is completely based on imagination and has nothing to do with the real characters. Please do not comment negatively. All the songs and photos are used in this video are not mine, so the credit goes to the respective owners. I own the storyline and this small editing. I'm using vminkook AI voices. Jungkook, Taehyungff, Jimin, and YN read at the same university. YN was a nerd who didn't talk to anyone, while Jungkook, Jimin, and Taehyungff were popular boys, typical heartthrobs. The three of them formed a group, and girls literally drooled over them every time. They all came from rich families. Jimin, Jungkook, and Taehyungff were drinking something while talking. Jimin suddenly glanced at YN, who was reading a book while sitting alone on a bench.
Look there, the little nerd again.
What about her?
Let's bet on something.
Like what?
Who will make her fall for us first?
That's easy. I will win.
I know it's me. I'm more handsome than both of you.
And I'm hotter than both of you.
And I'm more charming than both of you.
All three of them started to look at YN, who was quietly reading a book and not giving any attention to them. Taehyungff, Jimin, and Jungkook came in front of her and sat beside her. YN looked up at them but went back to reading the book again, completely ignoring their presence. Jimin smirked and suddenly snatched the book from her and placed it in his lap. Looks at them. Give me back my book. Smirked and put his arm over her shoulder.
Why are you reading that boring book? I'm more interesting.
Rolled her eyes and tried to get rid of his arm from her shoulder. Grabbed her chin and made her look at his face, which was only a few inches away.
You're a very attractive girl. Why don't you give us some attention and stop reading those shitty books?
What do you three want, huh? Chuckled and pushed his hair back.
We're just curious. You never talk to anyone and always sit alone.
None of your business. You three can get lost. Wrapped his arms around her waist, suddenly pulling her closer to himself.
They both can leave, but how can I leave you alone when you're so pretty? Your pretty lips look so dry. Maybe you want my lips to moisturize them.
Hey, don't flirt with me. Get lost. I chuckled and pulled her thighs, suddenly making her sit on his lap.
You're more pretty when you act sassy.
Oh my holy shit! You three have gone mad! God! She slipped away from them. Suddenly grabbed her hand and pulled her back.
You can't go anywhere away from us.
Babe, are you free?
He put his face close to her neck, which made his heart flutter because of her sweet smell. No, I'm very expensive. She ran away from them quickly. The next day, she woke up and got ready for university. As she came outside of her house, all three of them were waiting for her. Jimin was standing in front of his car and using his mobile. Jungkook was smoking while sitting on his motorbike, and Taehyungff had earphones in his ears, standing by his car. Jungkook dropped the cigarette when he saw her coming, and all three of them noticed her. They glanced at each other and started the competition to see who could take her. YN was trying to walk quickly when suddenly someone grabbed her hand and pulled her. She turned to look at the person who pulled her, and it was Taehyungff, who had a smirk on his face. Leave my hand. Smirked more and wrapped his arm around her waist, pulling her closer.
And why should I?
Suddenly, Jungkook held YN's hand and pulled her closer to him, protecting her from them. Jimin and Taehyung's eyes widened when Jungkook suddenly pulled YN towards him and wrapped his arms around her possessively.
What the hell, dude?
She is mine.
Like hell she is? She is mine.
Nope, mine.
Taehyungff and Jimin were glaring at Jungkook, who had his arms around YN's waist possessively.
Just because you pulled her first doesn't mean she's yours.
Let go of me. Wrapped his arms tighter around her waist possessively.
No.
I'm not yours, and neither are any of them. Just stop bothering me. You all are giving me a headache. All three of them stared at her quietly, not saying anything. Jungkook, Jimin, and Taehyungff just watched her walk away from them with their still glares. Jimin, Jungkook, and Taehyungff were standing in the hallway arguing with each other over who would get her first. They were arguing like dumbasses until suddenly Jungkook stopped and looked around. Jimin and Taehyungff noticed him, stopped arguing, and looked at him.
What's wrong?
Jungkook turned around and started walking in a direction. Jimin and Taehyungff were confused, but still followed Jungkook secretly. Jungkook kept walking until he saw you sitting on a bench outside the building. Jungkook walked towards you and stood in front of you. Eyes widen. Again. Oh God. Jungkook smirked, looking down at you. He put his hand on your shoulder and pushed you down to make you lay on the bench, and he leaned down towards your face. You could feel his hot breath on your neck. What?
You smell awfully sweet, princess.
I know. She pushes him away.
Are you free today? Let's go to watch a movie.
Suddenly came from nowhere.
No, she will go with me to the amusement park.
Keep dreaming she is going with me to grab a coffee.
Holds her chin.
Ignore them, princess. Say yes to me.
You three get lost, I'm going home. All three of them stayed silent, watching you. Jimin and Taehyungff were glaring at Jungkook, who was still standing in front of you, holding your chin. Push his hand away, then she left from there. They never give me attention, and now the three of them are fighting over me. I mean, WTF? Jungkook sighed when you left. He suddenly turned around to look at Jimin and Taehyungff, who were giving him their death glare while he was just smirking at them.
She didn't even consider you both. She only looked at me.
That's because you were holding her chin and standing so close to her face, and she had no choice but to look at you.
You two just don't want to accept that she only looked at me first. Face it, I already won the bet.
Hell no, you didn't. She still didn't agree to go anywhere with you.
Doesn't matter. I'm still the first one she made eye contact with and looked at. She didn't even notice you both.
Like this, they argued and were almost about to fight. The next day, she was walking back home after buying groceries. While on her way home, she heard someone calling out her name and stopped. She looked to see who was calling her name and saw Jungkook standing there with his bike, waving at her. She ignored him and started walking fast. Jungkook got down from his bike and ran behind her. He grabbed her hand to stop her from walking. What now?
Why did you ignore me?
What should I do then? Dance for you? Or sing for you? Huh?
Dancing and singing for me, huh? I won't mind that.
Jerk, just stop disturbing me. Smirk faded and his expression turned into a pout.
I'm not disturbing you, I was just trying to talk to you, but you always run away.
As she walked away, Jungkook sighed and watched her, but he smirked, suddenly having an idea. He got on his bike, started the engine, and began riding behind her. Stop following me like a creep. Suddenly, she got an idea and wanted to take the opportunity. Hey, can you help me? Jungkook suddenly stopped his bike when she called him. He looked at her.
Yeah, what is it?
My grocery bags are heavy, so... Smirked more and got off his bike.
All right then, princess. Hand over the bags.
She handed over the grocery bags to him, and Jungkook grabbed them.
Why the hell did you bring such heavy bags? They're not for soft hands like yours.
That's why I told you, because you look like a musclehead who can help me and carry them. He was a bit happy that you indirectly complimented him.
Musclehead, huh?
He indeed has a muscular body with biceps, abs, tattoos, a lip piercing, eyebrow and ear piercings. He was wearing a tight black shirt that showed his well-defined muscles. It was hard not to notice his muscular body, strong arms, and broad shoulders. He was too attractive. But I don't care, hump. Playboy. As they came in front of her house, they saw Jimin standing there with a flower bucket. Jungkook's eyes widened as he saw Jimin at her house. He clenched his fists, and his jaw tightened as he saw the flowers Jimin was holding. Oh God, another one. She face-palmed herself. What do you want now?
Don't be mad at me, princess.
Walks towards you while holding the bucket of flowers. Jungkook watched them and clenched his jaw even more. He hated the way Jimin was calling you princess. He suddenly got jealous.
These flowers are just for you.
Suddenly, Taehyungff came from nowhere and snatched the flowers from Jimin's hand and threw them away.
Leave it, YN. I bought your favorite pastry.
He took a box of pastries from behind his back and handed it to you. I don't want them for sake! You all get lost! She took the bag from Jungkook's hand and went inside her house, slamming the door shut. The three of them were arguing while standing in front of the house. All of them were looking at the door while arguing.
Damn it. She refused my flowers.
And didn't even look at the pastries.
It's not like any of your gifts are gonna win her over.
And you think she will fall for yours.
Let's be real, she's gonna choose none of us over the other.
You both just don't want to admit that I have a better chance of winning her over you both.
In your dreams, dude. She's gonna fall for me before she even notices you.
Hell nah, she's gonna pick me over you. She's gonna realize how much better I am than you two.
A few days later, she was coming from university, and it was raining. She had no umbrella with her, so she started running in the rain to her house. She was soaked by the rain. Jungkook was on his bike, riding on the road. It started raining, and as he was driving, he noticed someone running on the sidewalk while also getting wet from the rain. He slowed down his bike, and when he saw who the person was, he stopped his bike and got off. It was you, and you were running in the rain without any umbrella. He ran towards you. Jungkook got in front of you and saw you soaked in the rain. He took his jacket off and put it over your shoulders. You don't have to do that.
You are shivering. Just take the jacket before you get sick.
Whatever. About to walk away, suddenly he grabbed her wrist.
Where the hell do you think you are going?
Home.
In this rain?
Yes.
I won't let you walk in the rain like this.
He grabbed your waist and sat you up on the back seat of his bike. Hey! He sat in front of you on the bike. He looked over his shoulder.
Just hold on to me, princess.
He saw you were holding on to the bike, and not him.
I said to hold on to me.
He grabbed your hand and put it around his waist. He suddenly started the engine of the bike and began driving. He could feel your body pressed closer against his back. While driving to your home in the rain, he suddenly felt you shiver against him. He looked at you, feeling concerned about you.
Princess, are you cold?
No, it's fine. I'm okay. Jungkook knew you were just lying because he could feel you shiver against him. He grabbed your legs and pulled them closer, bringing you even closer against him. A few minutes later, he stopped his bike in front of your house. Thanks. He looked over his shoulder at you.
You're welcome, princess. But wait before you go.
He got off the bike and helped you down from it. He stood in front of you, his body towering over you. He placed one of his hands on your hip and the other on your chin, raising your chin to make you look at him. He looked down at you, seeing your hair soaked and sticking to your head from the rain, and your wet face. He looked into your eyes and then at your wet lips. He couldn't take his eyes off your lips. They were tempting him. He suddenly started to lean closer to you. His hand on your hip gripped tighter. He was now leaning his face closer to yours, so close that you could feel his hot breath on your already wet face. His eyes were looking down at your wet lips. You put your palm above his lips. Don't, you whispered. You. He smirked as you placed your hand on his lips. He could feel your soft, delicate palm on his lips, and he suddenly grabbed your wrist and pulled your hand away from his lips, holding on to it.
Why not?
He whispered back. She took off the jacket and gave it back to him. Thanks a lot. Go home. It's raining heavily. Jungkook just looked at you. He was watching you as you took off his jacket and gave it back to him. He was watching you closely.
How can such a tiny person like you be this? Cute and beautiful.
He thought while watching you.
I don't care about the rain.
Done not knowing what to say. Bye-bye. She ran away from there and went inside her house, shutting the door. Jungkook watched you run inside your house. He ran his hand through his wet hair and got on his bike. He sat there for a few minutes, staring at your house. He mumbled to himself.
Why the hell was I trying to kiss her? Am I falling for her?
He started the bike and rode away from your house. He had so many thoughts going on in his mind, but all he was thinking about was the fact that he almost kissed you.
God damn it.
The next day, as YN entered the university, Jimin and Taehyungff stopped in front of YN, holding their gifts in their hands.
Princess, good morning.
Jimin, move. I'm about to approach her first.
Who says you can have her before me? Move aside.
Taehyungff and Jimin started arguing while standing in front of you. Both of them had gifts in their hands. Shut up! I'm done with you all. You all just too annoying. Jimin and Taehyungff stopped and looked at you in surprise when you yelled at them. They both went silent as you scolded them.
Princess, I brought.
Before Taehyungff could finish his sentence, Jimin suddenly covered Taehyung's mouth with his hand.
Sha, don't say anything.
He said while stopping Taehyungff from talking, and then he looked at you.
Princess, don't be mad at us. We are just trying to win your heart.
Please let me breathe. I don't want any gifts. Just leave me alone. Taehyungff and Jimin just looked at you in shock when you said that. All they tried to do was win you over with gifts, and yet you rejected them. They were speechless. They were just looking at you in shock as you walked away. Time skip. It was a basketball match, and Taehyungff, Jungkook, and Jimin were on the same team as always. Everyone was watching the match as Taehyungff, Jungkook, and Jimin played. They were pretty good, and it looked like they were going to win the game. Jungkook suddenly looked around the crowd as if he was searching for someone. He scanned the crowd of people and suddenly spotted you sitting in the stands, watching the match. His eyes widened as he saw you, and suddenly a smirk appeared on his lips. Heart skipped a beat and looked away. Jungkook smirked more at your reaction. He was satisfied to see that you were affected by him. He looked away and continued playing the match. During the game, Jungkook tried to impress you as much as he could. He would look over at you every time he scored a point. Taehyungff and Jimin were giving flying kisses in your direction, and all the fangirls were boiling in anger and glaring at you from time to time. Taehyungff and Jimin were annoyed by the fact that you weren't reacting to their flying kisses. They kept doing that and looking at you, but your expression was just blank. Meanwhile, Jungkook noticed the girls glaring at you, and he didn't like it. However, he tried to stay focused on playing the game. As soon as the game was over, Jungkook's team won. Taehyungff and Jimin both came near you, expecting some positive reaction from you, but as usual, you gave them a blank expression. Jimin and Taehyungff both watched you leave, and they were annoyed and frustrated because of it. They were trying to impress you, but all they got was you leaving, while Jungkook watched you leave from a distance. The three of them were sitting in their usual place and arguing about the bet again.
None of us has won her over till now. It's just been a month since we made that bet, and none of us is close to making her fall for us.
God damn it, you are right.
Taehyungff said while massaging his forehead. He was also frustrated because he was not close to making you fall for him either.
We tried everything. We bought gifts, gave her attention, sent her expensive things. We tried everything to make her fall for us.
Jimin said while resting his chin against his hand and looking frustrated.
None of your attempts have worked because you both don't have the right tactics.
Oh yeah, and what are your right tactics?
He asked sarcastically with his arms crossed over his chest, mocking him.
You'll see. I will make her fall for me by the end of the month. I'm so ready to win the bet.
You really think you're going to win her over by the end of the month?
I doubt it. You're going to lose a bet, just like us.
Meanwhile, they didn't know YN was listening to their conversation secretly. YN felt a little pang in her heart at Jungkook's words. She didn't know why, but she felt sad and walked away. Jungkook was walking around the hallway. He suddenly noticed you standing by your locker, and he smirked when he saw you alone.
Babe, are you free tomorrow? Want to go on a date with me?
He said as he stopped in front of you, leaning his shoulder against the locker. He put his hands inside his pockets. Plans to play along with him. Fine. Jungkook smiled when you agreed to go on a date with him. He didn't even think that you would agree to go with him on a date.
Good. I'll pick you up tomorrow night.
Jungkook was waiting in front of your house, leaning against his black sports car. He was dressed in an all-black suit and looked as handsome as ever. He looked at his watch and checked the time. As he looked up and saw you coming out of your house, his eyes widened. He pushed himself off his car and just stared at you. He couldn't say anything as he was speechless at how beautiful you looked in that black dress. He wasn't expecting you to wear a dress. He had expected you to be in your usual comfortable and casual clothes. He wasn't prepared for this. His cheeks slightly flushed when he saw you wearing that black dress. He couldn't look away from you and kept staring at you. Cleared her throat. He suddenly snapped back to reality as soon as you cleared your throat. He looked up and suddenly realized that he was staring at you. He quickly looked away out of embarrassment.
Sorry, you look pretty.
Should we go?
Yeah, let's go.
He went around the car and opened the passenger side door for you. He was being a gentleman. As soon as you both got in the car, Jungkook started the engine and began driving. After half an hour of driving, Jungkook stopped the car in front of a house. He looked over at you.
We are here.
He said, unbuckled his seatbelt, and got out of the car. He went around and opened the door on your side of the car. Where are we? Jungkook just smiled as you got out of the car. He closed the door behind you. He suddenly grabbed your hand and interlocked your fingers with his.
You'll see. Just follow me.
He started walking towards the front door and then stopped in front of it.
Close your eyes.
As you closed your eyes, he opened the front door and walked inside. He gently pulled you in with him and closed the door behind you.
Now open them.
You opened your eyes and were gasped by what was in front of you. There were rose petals on the ground as you entered the house, and there were rose petals on the stairs leading to the upper floor. Jungkook was watching your reaction and silently enjoying the expression on your face. He then started pulling you with him. He held tightly onto your hand and led you to the living room. As you both entered the living room, you saw that the whole room was decorated with roses and candlelight. There were rose petals on the table and the floor. You don't have to do so many things like this.
I know I don't have to do these things. I wanted to do them.
Forced a smile on her face.
I'm going to go bring something, so stay here. Don't go anywhere. I will be back soon.
He left the living room and walked straight into the kitchen to grab something. He was looking for something in the kitchen. He quickly grabbed it and left the kitchen. He was carrying a plate full of chocolates and a bottle of wine in one hand. He walked over to you and stopped in front of you.
Here, sit down.
He said, and gestured towards the sofa with his eyes. You silently sat down on the sofa and waited for him to sit down next to you, but he didn't sit down. He was still standing in front of you. He then put the plate of chocolates on the table in front of you. He slowly started walking around you, circled around you, and then stopped behind you. He leaned down behind you, and you could feel his breath touching your neck. You felt shivers down your spine when you felt his breath on your neck. He leaned in even closer and whispered,
You look lovely.
Thanks. He gently caressed your hair and suddenly tucked your hair behind your ear.
You know, you look pretty with your hair down.
His hand was still in your hair. He caressed your exposed neck with his long finger, then he put a small locket on your neck. He then moved in front of you. He knelt down on one knee in between your legs. He looked up at you with that intense gaze. He was so close to you that he was almost between your legs. He moved closer to you and gently grabbed your hand, taking it in his. You don't have to do all this. He intertwined his fingers with yours. He was gently gripping your hand as he looked up into your eyes.
I am doing all this because I want to. Just accept it and stop protesting.
I know why you are doing all this.
What do you think I am doing all this for?
Do you think I don't know about the bet between you, Jimin, and Taehyungff? I heard everything. Jungkook's eyes widened when you said that. He froze in place as soon as you mentioned that you heard everything. His grip on your hand loosened as he looked up at you in shock. He looked like he didn't expect you to find out about the bet. Just tell your friends you won the bet. No need to do these fake things to me. Jungkook was silently staring at you. He still looked shocked and in disbelief at the fact that you heard about the bet. He had a guilty expression on his face, and he knew he needed to be honest with you.
I'm sorry.
That day when I was soaked in the rain and you helped me for a moment, I thought you were not like them. But I was wrong. I thought, my thoughts don't matter now. Just tell your friends you won the bet. And please stay away from me. I'm done. I'm just done with your fake concerns about me and everything. She pulls the chain from her neck, throws it at him, and walks away. Jungkook was speechless as you walked away from him. He was frozen in place as he looked at. Suddenly he panicked and his eyes widened as he watched you walking away. He chased after you, grabbed your arm, and stopped you.
Wait. Please, don't go.
Don't touch me, jerks his hand away. Jungkook was in a panic as you jerked his hand away and he was desperate, so he grabbed your hand again and clutched it in a tight grip.
Please don't go.
He gripped your hand tightly. He then suddenly pulled you towards him, grabbing you by your waist and pulling you against himself. He held you against his chest while both of his arms wrapped around your waist. He kept you close to him, buried his face in your neck, and breathed heavily. He clutched onto you like he didn't want to let you go. He spoke into your neck.
Please don't go. Don't go.
He was gently gripping your dress, and his other hand was gently caressing your hair. He was clutching you like he was afraid of losing you. You won the bet. Go, celebrate with your friends, and don't bother me again, and let go of me. I'm done with your great acting.
I don't care about the damn bet. I care about you. I can explain, please.
I have nothing to listen to.
Just listen to me. I'll explain everything. Just please don't go.
Fine, just say it.
I'm just gonna be honest with you. I was originally just doing all these things only because of the bet. But the more I spent time with you, the more I was getting to know you. I began to realize that I like you. I developed these feelings for you. I wasn't pretending when I said that you are lovely. I really think you're lovely. I think you're more than lovely. I really, really like you. I wasn't pretending to be nice to you. I wasn't pretending to care about you. I really do care about you. Everything I said and do is all truthful and real, no pretense.
Maybe it's a prank or another bet. He grabbed both of your shoulders and pulled you a little closer so he could look into your eyes. He looked at you with intense gazes and spoke in a serious tone.
It's not a prank, I swear. I'm not playing any games. I genuinely have feelings for you. I do genuinely like you. No, I love you.
Do you actually mean it? Jungkook suddenly placed his hand on your jawline. He held your head gently with one hand and spoke seriously.
I mean it. I genuinely do love you.
I like you too. Jungkook was surprised and shocked at the same time when you said that you liked him. He was expecting you to reject him and not like him back.
Wait, what? What? You like me too?
Yes.
You like me? You're not joking, right? You're not playing with me or anything. You're actually serious, right?
I don't play this kind of game, I'm serious. Jungkook was genuinely in shock. He still couldn't believe that you liked him back. He suddenly grabbed you by the hips, pulled you closer to himself, and kissed you. It was a gentle kiss at first, but slowly it became deeper, and he started gently biting your lower lip. He wrapped his arms around your waist and gripped you tightly. Your hand wrapped around his neck. A few minutes later, she broke the kiss. I'm giving you a cut chance. If you mess up this time, then I'm done. Jungkook pulled back from the kiss as you broke it. He was breathing heavily and looked at you.
I promise I won't mess up this time. I'll prove to you that I like you, and I'll prove myself to you. I won't mess up this time. I promise.
Smiles and hugs him. YN came outside of her house ready to go to university. Jungkook was already waiting for her outside, leaning against his motorbike with his arms crossed in front of his chest. He was wearing a black leather jacket, a black t-shirt, and black jeans. He looked like one of those badass guys from the movies. He spotted her walking out of the house and smirked as he saw her coming towards him. Jungkook smirked as she gave him a smile. He pushed himself off the motorbike and walked over to her. He immediately grabbed her hand and pulled her closer to himself. He then suddenly picked her up and sat her on the motorbike.
Good morning, sweetheart.
Good morning. He then sat on the motorbike behind you and wrapped his arms around your waist.
You ready to go to university, sweetheart?
Hey, why did you make me sit in front? I don't know how to ride a bike. He put his chin on your shoulder.
Because I want to hug you while I drive.
Hey, no, just focus on driving. Jungkook chuckled as he heard your response. He tightened his arms around your waist and spoke to you in a teasing tone.
Oh, don't worry, sweetheart. I can focus while hugging you. I'm very good at multitasking.
He started the motorbike, and soon the cool morning air was flowing through both your and Jungkook's hair. Jungkook was driving with one arm wrapped around your waist, keeping you firmly against his chest. His other hand was steering the bike. He continued to drive, his chest pressed against your back. A looks at him with the corner of her eye. Jungkook felt your gaze on him, and he glanced down at you. He smiled a little, noticing you looking at him from the corner of your eye. He tightened his grip around your waist, pulling you a little closer to himself. He pecked your lips. As he pecked your lips, he continued to focus on the road.
You know, I can feel your gaze on me. Don't look at me like that. Or might I?
Or might you?
Yeah, if you look at me like that, I might get distracted and cause an accident. Then we both have to make love in heaven.
Aish, this boy. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, and for more FFs, subscribe.